So yeah, MoutainCAP Media is a service. If you're trying to make a commercial for your business, if you want corporate headshots, for your profile picture, maybe you're having a special event of hundreds of people, and you need just a recapture of that event. I can kind of be a one-stop shop for all of the above.
So how long has MoutainCAP? Is that Cory Parker, by the way?
Cory Parker, that's right.
I see, me. I remember. All right.
That's right. You got a good memory. Yes, you do.
All right. So how long has MoutainCAP been established, and have you had any major success or takeoffs from it yet?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, I started the business in May of 2022, so it is fairly new. And the reason being, a good friend of ours, Ellen Krauge, which is married to Richard Krauge. Yeah. She's a realtor, and she had sold a house to someone that had moved to town that was involved in a pretty big role with a large manufacturer here in town. So after she sold that house to him, he was looking for someone to get some aerial drone shots of the manufacturing facility. And that facility was Amcor here in town. They're a very large plastics manufacturer. They manufacture Gatorade bottles, Pepsi bottles. That's their rigid packaging department. They also have flexible packaging, so like Tide Pods and Cascade dishwashing pods, sandwich food packaging. They also do pharmaceuticals as well. So now this is a large 750,000 square foot facility here located right here in the industrial park of Whitfield. So I get a phone call from Ellen saying, hey, someone here interested in utilizing your drone license to capture some content. I said, okay, great. Set up a phone call with the fellow, met him, and he's looking to get this done as soon as possible. And I hadn't really thought about starting a business. I was like, I had my FAA license to operate the drone, and that's pretty much all I had. So more I thought about it, I was like, oh man, I need to protect myself, in case a liability issue happens. And so that afternoon, after leaving his office, went straight to the computer, set up the LLC, went right to the insurance agency, got a general liability insurance policy, and went to the town of Whitfield to get that business license. And because shooting was going to start the following week. So that was really the oh man, I gotta make a business. So with that, everything went well. And since then, that particular business has sent me to Orlando, Florida, to Blythewood, South Carolina. Also, there's another facility in South Carolina, and just trying to recreate the same type of content that I created for the facility here. And so not only was it flying outside, but they wanted me to fly inside of this facility, where they're producing, millions of these bottles, and, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably millions of dollars worth of equipment in here. So, no pressure at all, flying a drone around inside of a facility like this. But, creating a business and having that limited liability insurance was something that was definitely needed. So that, there's been some other major successes as well, but really what jump-started the business was the project with Amcor Rigid Packaging.
Wonderful. Okay, now, I have last year throughout 2023 and the last part of 2022, with my column, I partnered with the Wythe County Technology Center, and we spotlighted each one of their 15 departments on a monthly basis in my column, and there was one particular department that dealt specifically with drone photography, which that's how I learned that those drones had to be certified by the FAA, which I thought was very interesting, and I think that that's great that they're offering that to high school students. Were you aware of that?
I am not aware of that. That sounds like a wonderful program. If you want to elaborate just a little bit.
Well, I think I can't really elaborate that much on it. I just know that they learn the benefits of drones, and they actually, I'm pretty sure they actually get their FAA verification if they complete certain areas of the class. So I think I will have to do some research and look back on it. But I think you would be a great asset to go in and talk to those classes and such, you know.
Yeah, that would be great, because you know, as we talked before, there are a lot of rules and regulations, you know, regarding aerial camera drones, or just anything that flies into the airspace. Right. And of course, we'll touch on some of those in just a moment. But yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely a good idea to inform, you know, not only the younger generation, but the older generation as well, as technology is growing so fast, about, you know, what to expect if you see one in the air as a spectator, or if you're the actual pilot in command as well.
Well, and the word drone is very intimidating to a lot of people, particularly like anything else that can be sensationalized by media and films and television, that there are drones coming to invade our privacy and you know, take over our lives, assume our identities, just all of these kinds of crazy conjectures. But people, if that's all they hear, people begin to accept these things. So what type of advice, or what would you say to those who are, and I use the term loosely, skeptical about such things in areas such as Wood County?
Sure. Yeah, and like you did say it very well. You know, when you say the word drone, there's you can definitely get a lot of negative responses and positive too. You know, especially with the war in Ukraine, where every day we're hearing about these drone strikes, and you know, yeah, the general public can really get a little bit uneasy when they hear these quadcopters flying around, and you know, you hear them, but you can't necessarily see them or see who's operating them. So yeah, I'll briefly just touch. You know, there's two classifications. You have a recreational flyer, and then you have a licensed pilot. Recreationally, you know, a lot of these drones you can go to Best Buy or order online, and if you're just flying them around for just personal recreation, then no license is needed to do so. There's still some very crucial rules that you must abide by that aren't really labeled on the box or in the instructions. It's kind of like you know, like a car. You know, you can drive a car in the field of your farm without a license, you know, if you're teaching a kid or something like this. But the moment that they're on the highway, a license is required. So as far as being a licensed pilot, that kind of gains you access to a whole new world of operations, you know, working for compensation, being able to fly at night. You know, some of these things are related to only being a license holder, but just for recreational, you know, there's like, you cannot, I'll just touch on 5 major rules. You know, 400 feet above ground level, that's a maximum ceiling that you're allowed to fly, whether you're licensed or a recreational flyer. Now, there are some variables. If you're a license holder that you need to cross this threshold, you can, but some requests and some additional rules apply. For a recreational flight, you know, you cannot be more than 55 pounds. You cannot exceed 100 miles per hour. You cannot fly over people. That's a big one. Also stadiums, major sporting events, open air assemblies. That's something else that, you are unable to do that. And those are just, general rules to abide by for every pilot, whether it's recreational or a license holder. So, there's definitely rules in place, because there have been instances of, I know it's probably been, 5-6 years ago, someone flew a drone into the stadium of the football Super Bowl, and that was definitely frowned upon, and therefore a lot of rules and regulations had to be put in place to avoid that. So as far as the obtaining a license goes, it's called the CFR 14 Part 107, and what that is the Code of Federal Regulations Part 107, and all that is you study for this exam. It's a multiple choice, 60 question, pass or fail, and you're allowed to, I believe, the 70% and above for passing, and anything less than that, is fail. You're able to take that as an exam 2 weeks after if you do fail, but it is a fairly hefty priced exam. It's about $175 currently. It's valid for 24 months. After that 24 months, you must take a recurring test just to stay up to date with all of the rules and regulations, because, with the technology getting so quickly, everything's always changing. So they require you to just kind of stay up to snuff on your licensing. So go ahead and hit me with a question there.
There are rules and regulations to protect the privacy of the people for those who may be concerned about such things.
Yes, and I can talk about that, because that is a very big misconception, and this is kind of the line that gets drawn, that whether you support the drones or you don't, and a lot of that is the privacy. So just to clarify with the public here on the podcast, if you own a plot of land, that's pretty much it. You own the land. However, the FAA governs the airspace. Now, a lot of people, they'll say, well, don't I own the airspace? Well, technically, yes. However, in 1946, there was a case called the Cosby case. And what happened here was a chicken farmer sued the government because planes were flying over his property on a regular basis. He argued that because of this, his chickens were dying due to long-term stress and et cetera, therefore losing income. So, even though you technically own the airspace over your property, you also grant an easement of that airspace for public use. A citizen of the United States has a public right of transit through that, quote, navigable airspace. So, what that means is, if you own the airspace from your property to infinity, there's going to be passenger aircraft that fly above you at 30,000 feet or so. But where the FAA has classified these UAV, or unmanned aircraft vehicle, they've deemed this vehicle an actual registered aircraft. So, it can transit through your property, and that's 100% legal. Now, I can see where someone, if a neighbor is trying to spy on you to where it's hovering by your window, you could have a case. You could reach out to law enforcement and say, hey, I think there's some voyeurism or espionage going on here, and they can create a case, and that way the FAA would get involved. They're going to need to see the flight plans from the aircraft, where it took off from, where it landed after the flight. So then you also have, people saying, well, if there's a drone flying on my property, I'm going to shoot it down. Well, there's going to be major consequences for that, because technically you're shooting an aircraft out of the sky, whether it be a manned aircraft or an unmanned aircraft. So there's going to be huge penalties and, very possible and very likely some jail time associated with that. So even though
to put that in perspective, if I could just interject right here, to shoot down a drone is no different than to take a shot at an airplane, correct?
You are absolutely correct.
And which means if you shoot down a drone, even though it may be on your property, you are not getting community service or a slap on the wrist if you shoot one down.
That's correct.
It is a federal offense, and it will be regarded as such.
Amen. Yeah.
Want to make that clear. All right. So tell me then, since you have been all over the world, all over the country, you could have done this in any big city in the world. You chose to come home and establish this business. Why here and why now?
Why here and why now? Well, that's a great question. So the area that I was living in, Colorado, is a very it's a sanctuary for animal migration. To be more specific, elk. I was in Keystone, Colorado, very close to Breckenridge and Vail, so ski country, USA. A lot of that land is owned by the National Forest. Therefore, the animal population is more important than the human recreational activities. So there was a lot of areas that I could not fly, just because of what's the term they use, like migration, manipulation, or animal harassment would be the term. And it was already kind of saturated with a lot of remote pilots trying to do the same thing that I am, getting involved with realtors, economic development. Coming back to with Phil, where there's not as, the populace is a lot less, we don't have these migration routes, it's just now becoming a little bit more popular here. So I was able to capitalize on some of those industries that didn't have options or pilots that were certified to offer them a service. So, getting involved with Smith County and Carroll County's economic development was really a nice alternative to kind of creating the type of videos that I was used to, these action style videos. So I think that there's a big need for that here, and with there being a very minimal amount of licensed pilots to do so, it was just kind of a no-brainer, really.
Indeed, and a way for you to give back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to close it right here with something I never expected to close it with when I've been preparing for this for the last week or so. You said to me yesterday, you are going to fly a drone. And my motherboard fried out at that moment. But you said you're going to fly a drone. So you want to explain as much as you can what kind of plans you got for me, a disabled man, for anybody who does not know, to fly a drone. So.
Absolutely, it is possible, and I know, I'm sure your mouth probably hit the floor when I told you that. And in realization, like I said, the technology is getting incredibly user-friendly to where someone with no experience or a disabled, those type of people are going to be able to have access to fly. And I have a particular drone that is a small half-pound drone that is actually most of these drones are controlled by joystick or two joysticks, just very similar to like a PlayStation controller, to where you have these two joysticks. Your left hand controls one, your right hand controls the other, which could be very difficult for someone that is disabled. However, they have now figured out a way. They have something that's called a motion controller, to where you can hold it in your hand and you have a headset on your face that gives you a live preview of what the drone sees. So you hold this controller in your hand, and it's literally like a fighter jet. So if you fighter jet control, so with your finger you squeeze the trigger, and that's your throttle. And to turn or to ascend or descend, you just point that joystick left or right, and it's just a swivel of your wrist. If you need to stop, you simply just let go of that trigger, and the drone will stop and hover until you give it another command. So it's very intuitive. It's a natural feeling, and literally you squeeze the trigger and you just move your wrist around like if you were sitting in an aircraft cockpit. So I know you're probably like, there's no way I can do this. I have no experience. No, that's not the case anymore. Literally anyone with no experience can pick this up and take off and start flying and enjoy that sensation of flight and experience a point of view that they've never, ever been able to experience before. So I'm looking forward to when this wind comes to still and the weather gets a little bit warmer, to get outside and we can go there and just fly around and you can experience this. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Sounds like a great time and a great memory to be made between two good friends.
That's right.
Cory, you've always been special to me. You've always been somebody I've had great admiration for as a human being and as a professional with your many talents. Thank you so much. You could have contacted anybody in the world to promote your business, and you picked me, and I don't take that very lightly. Thank you so much for doing that. It's been a great joy to talk to you, and I look forward to reuniting in person very soon.
My pleasure. It has been a wonderful experience chatting with you and catching up, and looking forward to getting you up in the air and flying around here very soon.
Well, I can't wait. It's going to be exciting, and I look very much forward to seeing you. It'll be a great experience just to see you in person again. So thank you for all you've done for me. I appreciate it so much.
Well, my pleasure, and thank you for taking the time and giving me the call and bringing me onto the podcast. Looking forward to it.
Well, it's my pleasure, and we will talk again very soon, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Take care. All right.